everyone, it's me, Carol. Thanks for joining me today as we continue our series on the court cards in the Minor Arcana. This video will be, as promised, just on the knights and the symbology and the interpretation. You may recall from the previous video, though, something important, that all knights have the element air, as well as their individual suit elements, and that their astrological quality is under the mutable quality. There are threes in astrology. There's mutable, fixed, and cardinal. And what that basically means is when we are talking about the mutable zodiac signs, it makes them more flexible, adaptable, and changeable. And that is certainly the image that we get from these knights on horses. Let's look at also some commonalities before we get into the individual knights. All the knights, of course, are wearing armor. They're on a quest as well as to protect them. They are said to be the servants of the kings and the queens, and they are ready for battle. We also see that each of the knights are holding the suit of their cards in the right hand. That is the dominant male active side. So it is showing you that they are in a mindset of activity, of movement, as well as they are all on horses. Horses really are an indication of vitality, drive, determination, and the coming of going of matters, information, and change. And then the last thing that I would like to bring to your attention is, there's two more things. Let's talk first about their helmets, and that there seems, all the visors are up, but that the Rider-Waite helmet have limited views. And what that means psychologically is that they are limited in their vision or their knowledge on their quest. So their eyesight is limited, and it's kind of directed one way and not open to other suggestions. Now, the other thing that I just thought about it, that I wanted to bring to your attention, is that we have two horses that are going in one direction, and then we have two horses that are going in the opposite direction. So what does that mean? Well, when we are heading the direction west, that is known as the past or the left side. The left side has to do with the feminine receptive. That's even on our physical bodies as well as in symbology and esoteric knowledge. And then the right is known as the east, or the masculine active principle, or future oriented. What's fascinating about this is that we have the male suits, which is the wands and the swords, going in the receptive feminine west side. And then we have the receptive female suits, which is cups and pentacles, going east, which is the active male side. We can look at that and determine that we'll talk about that when we look at the symbology and the meaning of the cards. But right from the get-go, on a psychological level, I think what is being mirrored here or told is that in our maturity, in our growth, and we know that the court cards have to do with beginning at the pages, going into the knights, and then becoming a queen or a king, has to do with maturity, knowledge. The idea of the horses going in the opposite direction of their suits indicates the need for all of us as individuals during our personal growth and transformation the reconciliation of our opposites, that we are both male and female within, and that when we meet that opposition, that we are more mature and able to cope with life, because the court cards certainly have to do with people and things and the mundane world in life, and the suits, of course, are those departments of life. So keep all that in your mind, if you will. I think that's going to help us a great deal in understanding the cards. With that said, we also know that the right side, when we see these cards in the spread, the indication that something new or someone new is now entering our lives, and or a situation that we're going to be working on. Vice versa, when we see it in the past or the west side, we can say that it has to do with the knights having to go back or to be ready to meet whatever is coming from the past or whatever hasn't been done. And that's another important aspect in determining how to interpret the cards. And I'm hoping I'm not giving you too much information, but certainly the symbology and why some are heading towards the west and some are heading towards the east, how that works out when you lay out in the spread, again, is a clue on how to interpret the cards. I always like to begin with the suit of wands, so let's go ahead and continue that. Let's talk about the Knight of Wands. We are talking about all air. We have air in fire because our wands are fire. Astrologically, the mutable sign is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is a zodiac sign that is usually very, very active of the three elements. And even the glove of the zodiac sign is half man and half horse. We have a lot of fire going on here. The horse's mane looks like flames of fire, and on top of the helmet is flames of fire. On his armor and his elbow, we see more flames of fire. So there is a lot of energy, and it blends in beautifully with the air of the knight's energy. And when we have fire and air, we know that in order for fire to maintain its energy, you don't smother it, you give it air. And this is a knight that is ready to do battle, ready to go forward, a tendency to start projects, but may not necessarily complete them because that fire or enthusiasm may burn out, or say, okay, I'm on to the next thing. I've gotten all the joy, or I've done everything or learned everything that I can over here, and I'm just going to move on and start something else. And that is certainly a tendency of the fire signs and this card. Let's also look at what we call the guardian of the cards that we learned about in the pages, and that was the guardian of the wands. The fire is the salamanders, and that's also going to give you a clue of what I've just said. Some of the salamanders are open and some of them are closed, biting their own tails. So yes, there is completion, but here there isn't. So there's more growth, there's more maturity, there's more learning to be had. Also, this knight is unable to handle all of this fire energy. It almost feels like he's even too big for this horse, and the horse is galloping and in midair and has to come down to earth. So it could indicate there was a lack of planning where we're going to go. We're just heading out, we're hurrying along, and the horse and rider are really not in accordance together. Even the horse's head is down, so he's holding that bridle where the horse really is not able to see where he is going. Now this knight is in colors that are also very dominant, active, and bright. We have orange, red, and yellow. So what the red indicates in orange and yellow is mind, because we know yellow is mind. Orange has to do with enthusiasm, and red has to do with desire. These qualities also talk about this card is telling you to take a risk and be willing to make a mistake. And if you do make a mistake, it's okay. Just learn from that experience and don't become discouraged. So this is a wonderful card to have to learn that. The other thing is orange is a color of courage. It begins with the French word cœur, which means heart, and so courage is having heart to go forward, even though there may be some obstacles or a little bit of fear or apprehension, but to be courageous, go into battle and get this thing done. Also known that this card sometimes indicates someone who is interested in romantic relationships. It's a whirlwind relationship. Someone may come in and out of your life very, very quickly. There could be a strong physical desire. And yes, being that it is the Suit of Wands, it could be the urge to merge. But sometimes this card does indicate that someone may not want that commitment, that stability, that interest, so it's here today and may be gone tomorrow. Having nothing to do with personality and energy, this could be indicating that there's a quick change in the environment, in your residence, in your job. There could be change in your plans. You may be also given directions of where to go, orders to follow, having to do with authority figures or agencies. If this card on an individual level could also mean that you are going through a period of inner growth and change of your identity. You may be questioning, who am I? And have an impetus or a willingness to change your self-image or take on a new job or take on a new adventure or take on a new course of action to make you feel better, more wise, and certainly independent. So that's a possibility. Let's talk about if this card comes up reverse. It could mean lack of stability, reliability, and a tendency to procrastinate. All right, let's go to the Knight of Cups. Again, we have air and water, and the mutable astrological sign here is Pisces. Now here we have a knight mounted on a gray horse. The blending of opposites, that's very important. Black and white give us gray, and what that symbolizes, the mastery of one's instincts. And he heads east and holds his cup in the right active hand, but he doesn't seem to be paying attention to what the cup is. He's definitely looking and saying, who's coming into my life? Or what's this emotional feeling? Or I'm not quite sure on, once I meet this, what would be my next plan of action. We can even see that in the horse kind of just lifting one leg as to pause and rethink. So there is this feeling of I'm feeling it, but I can't identify with it right now. Also, the Knight of Cups has learned that emotions come and go much more quickly than they did at the level of the page. We also see this in the background because he's thinking things through because he's on the yellow pavement, but he hasn't thought or gone through the unconscious, which is depicted here in the stream of water. And then we have these mountains, these orange and red mountains of desire and understanding, and that could be burdensome for him. It's another obstacle he has to overcome. So there's a part of himself that is new as he's sizing up his card and his position and his gaze, what he might say, what he might feel. He has an imaginative mind, and we see that with the winged helmet here, which is Mercury. It's also on his feet, so where he thinks he would like to go. But is his imagination basically just fed without action? That we don't know. His desires are shown with the fish and the waves here. So he wants to be loved. He just may not know how to address that immediately. There is a dreamer in the Piscean. It is ruled by Neptune. Sometimes it's vague, sometimes it's not long lasting, and sometimes the fantasy is unrelated to the actual emotions that are being felt or given. Remember, there could be someone bringing emotions to this person since it's coming in from the east. Now, the Knight of Cups is on a quest also for wholeness and knowledge. All of the knights are, and he has basically very stable beginnings, but it's up to him to do something with that quest for knowledge. Some interpretations are that this is a very amicable and intelligent person, yet not always grounded, or can be easily led and discouraged. The water and air need boundaries in order for direction and permanency. We certainly don't see that right now. One who may be searching for love or companionship. Having nothing to do with personality or an individual. Sometimes this card can indicate fads, or an invitation, an opportunity that's being presented to you. It's usually goodwill. It could be a pleasant journey. When this card does come up reversed, though, it can indicate trickery, misuse of the emotions, and we have to be careful of delusions or misuse of substances. We now move on to the Knight of Swords. We have air, and by golly, we know that this is the strongest of all the knights because we have a double element. We have air, and certainly we can see that being indicated with the symbology of the card. But first, let's go ahead and look at its mutable astrological sign, and that is Gemini. Gemini is a double-bodied sign. It's known as the twins, and it's certainly beautifully represented here with this air knight and the suit of swords, which is air. So we have raging clouds. We have wind-bent trees. The mane of the horse is even almost like fiery air. His cape seems to be in the air. Even the breastplate on the horse seems to be going in one direction. So there is this onset of thinking, imagination, communication, ideas, all this energy. And where is it going? Well, it is going so fast, or happening so fast in the mind, that the horse, and the reason it's telling you that there's an opposition is because the horse and the rider are going in the opposite direction of where we're seeing the wind being depicted. So it's something that is being addressed that isn't understood yet. It's going back. It has to relearn maybe, or rethink, or recommunicate. So we have to keep in mind that this knight can represent chivalry, determination, intention to charge and proceed ahead. And of all the knights, this is the one you want to hire if you want the job done or you want the quest done, because there is this determination to move ahead no matter what obstacle is in the way. And what's really interesting is I believe Pamela Coleman Smith tried to tell us that we have to use heart and mind, emotion and mind, that we can't all be in our heads. That is why she put that little heart on the bridle of the horse, because even the horse is looking back with a red eye saying, you got to be kidding, I can't keep this up. And you're charging ahead with your sword, but you don't know what you're confronting yet. And for both of us, that could be overwhelming. Now, it is though this knight is seeing conflict and saying, I'm moving ahead full speed. And the lesson of this card is you can do that some of the time, but you can't do that all of the time. Yes, it also is a symbol when this card comes up that someone is searching and determined they're going to get to the bottom of things. And sometimes that is truth and justice. The card, of course, is going to indicate intellect, seeking knowledge and information, and then they will quickly respond to it. We also see the symbol of the air and birds on his tunic here. We got some red birds. And we also see that on the breastplate, there's the birds. And over here, we see birds in flight. And then we have these 5 birds here in the sky on the right-hand side. And that, again, is a reminder that whatever we take flight or wherever we put into motion or wherever we're seeking, we have to balance on the right and of the left. We have to be like the gray horse here, neutral. We have to be receptive and we have to be active, but that polarity here hasn't quite made it. Let's talk about the butterflies, which indicate also intellect, but they also indicate transformation. Just as I was just depicting here, we have to transform what we've learned before we take action. We have to temper our enthusiasm or our uncontrolled urges, our minds, our instincts sometimes. But also the butterflies indicate that this Knight of Swords may not always learn from his experiences, because the butterfly seems to go from flower to flower. So if someone is on the quest to learn something, they may not stay long enough, just like the butterfly goes from one pollen flower to another, but doesn't stay there long enough to get all the nectar. That this person is not going to be, again, a master of where he is headed or the inclination to learn his new course of study. So he has to learn to control his enthusiasm and not just go for change for the sake of change, the impulsive urges. When this card comes up, it can mean that there is a need for us to cut our losses or to move away quickly. Or it may mean that there's a sudden change, a dramatic change wherever we are. And that could be in our relationships. That could be that we get new information and we realize that we haven't had the right information, or we've been thinking wrong or assuming. This card sometimes has to do with communication, advertisement agencies. When it's reversed, it could indicate quarrels, gossip, betrays, slander. When it comes to an individual, it could be someone who is unkind, who can bully you. And also this card, when it's reversed, is suggesting slow down, smell the roses, think before you act, and choose your battles carefully, okay? Now, lastly, we're going to go to the Knight of Pentacles, and the Knight of Pentacles is air and earth, and the mutable astrological sign is Virgo, and that Virgo quality is giving this Knight a sense, and you can see it in the symbols: obligation, duty, steadfastness, and being of service. You can also see that of the 4 knights that we are looking at, this knight is on a horse that is stationary, and his armor is very plain, but the horse is equipped, probably is going to be pulling something here to do service, to be of service. And that stationary means that he's in the air, a lot of thinking, and we have this plowed feel, something, there's a two-way street with this card. Something, either new seeds need to be planted, or we've done the planting, we are harvesting, we are evaluating what it is that we've manifested, accumulated, and then we are going east and going to replant again. So our ideas also have to hit fertile ground for them to produce anything. And going back to his armor being very plain, he has a tunic that is brown, so he's quite grounded, and his horse is quite grounded. And of the horses, not only is it stationary, but it seems to have a good girth. It seems to be heavy. And we have to be careful when the Knight of Pentacles comes out that we are not too fixated on doing it in one way. You know, the earth can sometimes get stuck in a train of thought or a methodology. So this card does give you that yellow flag of maybe our way needs to be changed, or we may want to seek a new way of doing things if the productivity of our labors that we've done previously aren't really to our standard, or we're not quite happy with it. Now, on the other hand, we have to look at this symbolically with the blue armor, going back to that femininity. Of course, the Knight of Pentacles, as I said earlier, is of the feminine side. It is receptive, and he certainly has his receptibility of the emotional as he's dressed in it. He's aware of it, but now he just has to blend it. When this card comes up, it could have to do with conventional views, a practical person, a very patient, clever person who knows how to use material things, who knows how to get things done, one who is moving in a new direction to receive payment of goods, someone who in the reading may be saying, when will I be paid for the work that I've done? If this card comes out, that's an indication that it's coming, but it may take a little bit more time. Again, we have to look for how it is laid out. Now, this card can indicate also large organizations such as banks, commodities. It could indicate a financial advisor, or that you are a successful investor, that you're wanting to look at opportunities for long-term investments or long-term planning. When this card comes up reverse, it may be that your money or your goods or your job or your opportunities are at a standstill. Be patient, and also be aware that whatever you put forward, you may break even, that there might not be a lot of gain, again, because of the way that horse is, and that there is nothing really growing in the plowed field, and that you are in an unconscious, this blue, where the horse is in this unknowing part. That's also an indication of that. But that goods and materials are accessible. They could be coming your way. If it is reversed, be careful, because you may be meeting someone who is self-serving, a little selfish, maybe a little lazy, and doesn't always use resources wisely. I'm going to leave it there, everyone. Hopefully you enjoy this. As always, if you have any questions or concern, or would like a little bit more insight, please email me or leave a comment, and I'll do the best that I can to clarify that. Thanks everyone for joining me. Hope everyone has a great and wonderful weekend. Bye for now.